my name is Dominique Manahan, and I'm a second-year computer science major, and I'm running for president. Oh, and I'm also the current external vice president, but you know. I'm running for president because I want to direct and lead Fusion on its journey to reaching Fusion's full potential. I feel like Fusion has lost a lot of its deep engineering roots, and ESOs like BMES and ASE offer a lot of substantial engineering opportunities. Like BMES has a heart valve project they just started this year, and I feel like Fusion really needs something like that to help, ingrain something into our members or into the club itself that we are an engineering org, like we pub out. So I feel like you can't really start off with like a big project like the heart valve. I think we should start it off by having like kind of quarterly projects, quarterly projects like cardboard boats would just be expanded to be like multiple weeks, and you would get to like test it out and stuff like that. And then also I would like to bring back FusionCon, which it was established a long time ago, and I don't know when it got lost, but I feel like with bringing it back, it would give, I would want to involve FSI, which they want to be more involved with us, but they don't have a lot of the direct communication that they want from us. So I feel like that would give a good opportunity for us to strengthen our relationship with them, as well as offering it to alumni to come out and maybe get some job opportunities that they want, and also come and teach and give advice to our current members that they want to give. And then I feel like it would show more of our professional aspect, as well as give Fusion more visibility on campus. As EVP now and intern last year, I have really learned what it takes to run this club and be a board member. I pushed my own boundaries by running for EVP and, oh my God, improving my speaking skills and time management. And I also pushed the close boundaries by strengthening our relationship with our sister orgs and FSI. I created events like Confusion and the FSI bowling tournament, and I really feel it inside of me to create the change the club needs, and I hope I have convinced you all the same. Thank you. Yes, Sydney?
What are your weaknesses? What do you think are your weaknesses, and how will you fix them?
I feel like one of my weaknesses is being overly optimistic, which brings up my high levels of stress. Because I really want the best in everybody in the club itself, so I kind of dream a little too high sometimes, and it stresses myself out because I feel like I won't be able to give what I expect of myself. So, yeah.
Next question.
Question?
Will your projects have require funding, and if it does, where would you get funding from?
If the plan is to get more funding, it will require funding, but not as much as like heart valve project would. It's most likely going to be a lot of smaller, less inexpensive projects, because I feel like we don't have the infrastructure or just the strength to do that right now. And I would get that funding through having outside fundraisers and working with my treasurer with that, but then also seeing if FSI could help sponsor us, because they have been very supportive with us whenever there's events and stuff like that. So if they would want to sponsor us, maybe if we go to a competition or anything like that, I'm sure that they would want to help, so I'd reach out to other places as well. Yeah, Brian? I don't know when first. Hi.
How would you deal with a board member that's not doing your job?
First, I would, of course, talk to them first and see what the source of the issue was, if it was personal, academic, any other thing, and see if they need help with just their board position for just a certain amount of time, and I would be able to help pick up their slack and kind of be a crutch for them until they get themselves stable. But if it comes to a point where it's almost as if they don't want to be there anymore and there's no motivation or there's just no effort to be a board member anymore, I would really talk to my board and see if removing them from board would be the best for us, and if it is, I would not fear doing that.
What is FusionCon?
FusionCon, it was like, it's kind of like CAP if you don't know what it is, but it's kind of like a big networking event that a lot of like companies went to. It's kind of like career fair too. So yeah, that's what I know it is.
Sounds good, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, you want to do that?
Where do you think your board fell short this year?
Say it again.
Where do you think your board fell short this year?
I feel like our board fell short in certain times, a lot of initiative, and I think that we just burnt ourselves out a little too quickly, and we lost motivation in some areas when maybe midterms came up or finals, and a lot of things just piled on, and we just pushed Fusion to the side. Yeah, that's what I feel short.
All right, hey guys, I'm Jeremy. I'm running for you guys as future president. First off, if you guys are here planning to think that I'm going to be your guys' first big event kind of planner, no, you're mistaken. I'm here to take a step back because I think we've lost ourselves throughout the years. I feel like we need to reevaluate what we are doing because I feel like we've lost a lot of our identity, actually. We've lost the fusing, we lost the F-Tech, and our services have been lacking in attendance. What I want to do is try to improve upon that. One of the things that I think is hurting us is we're reluctant to change our traditions. Whenever we go into board meeting, this is tradition, that is tradition. I feel like we're only saying that is because we are safe with tradition. We know it's good, it's gonna work. But I feel like we should change that. We need to break tradition. If we fail, it's all right. We will pick ourselves up. If we succeed, it might not stick, but at least we tried something new. For another thing is networking. We take pride in our name, Organized Network, but we do not have the ties to show that we are in an organized network. I feel like we do need to keep tying those knots because one or two knots is easily unraveled. And so I want to extend invitations to hopefully other organizations, especially in the engineer, and hopefully we could keep tying those knots. We need to keep tying those knots. Hopefully that changes everything. If it's not, we'll give it a shot. What I think is that we need to retain our members. We need something new because I know that a lot of you guys are interested when we do something new. And so if you guys are looking for that next big event, we do need to step back and really focus in on smaller things because that is what's going to hold us together. All right? Thank you. And if you guys have any questions, I'm ready.
What are some of those new ideas that you want to implement to do this?
Well, definitely what I want to do is, in IIF, reach into the other booths. I think we need to really approach them face to face rather than trying to just go by the EVP. I think we all should sort of just scatter during AIF and then hit those booths and try to get those collabs going because we need those connections. I feel like we've lost good amounts of our connections, and that's what we need to establish in Fusion. Yes.
Besides AIF, what are you planning to reach out to besides AIF?
Okay, so besides AIF, I would hopefully be working with the next EVP. I know that I should be a forefront in helping the EVP. I do not have the specifics right now. Yes?
So you said you wanted to end traditions. What traditions are you thinking of?
Okay, so traditions, I do not want to end them all completely. They are who we are. They make us who we are. They sort of what is entitled for our future. I just wanted, because we've stuck with the same meetings over and over again, and I feel like when we do introduce something new, a lot of the older members do find it appealing when we do new meetings. So just meetings here and there, switch them out probably. We could come back to them, recycle them, but I want to try new things.
How do you deal with a board member who's not doing their job?
So, of course, you're going to hear that a lot. You're going to want to first talk to them and see what's going on, if it's school, family, financial, whatever it might be, and it might deter him from doing his or her work. But if it comes to it, it is his or her decision, and I would have to cut them out because I'd rather them not do the work and be not part of it, and then slack off and be part of it, because it just makes things harder on the board.
Okay. Any more last questions? Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
How would you deal with board conflict?
Of course, you're going to hear compromise, compromise, compromise. But in reality, I feel like compromise can only happen if both parties sees the other side. A lot of times we are caught up in our own winnings. We do not want to see the other person's side. So I would have to let them sit back for days, really want them to see the other person's side before we can do the compromise. But everything else is you've got to talk to each side, see the sides, and really try to get that compromise.
Can you critique your opponent?
Why should the other person win? The only reason that I feel like the other person should be president is because you feel that I would do the better job at being president and leading the club in the direction you think the club should be going.
Look, I feel like if you have to ask the question whether or not we are to be better of each other, we all have our weaknesses and our strengths. I think you should be able to take that from our positions, our platforms, and make an evaluation.
Questions? Ken?
So both of you guys are experienced board members. How are you going to help new board members? Like, how would you help them grow throughout the year?
I personally would see what leadership style would fit them the best, because some people would rather have hands-off leadership and just kind of like overseeing, rather than having to be led, more so like checked up on more often. So if they would rather have that, like I work better like that with nobody critiques me yet, and then afterwards they will. But if I would just adapt to my leadership style to them and make sure that they're leading the right way and making sure they're doing their job.
So something like Dom said, everyone does have their own style of learning. What I would do is adapt to their learning style, but in the beginning I would have to sort of hold their hand, kind of push them in the right direction. We see that a lot with the newer boards. We need to be pushed a little. And so I feel like it's got to be pushed, and then once they learn, we could just let go. Let them do their thing.
Once you guys feel that your board is ready to basically lead themselves, what do you think your job is as president?
That's it. I feel like once the board's like walking on their own, I feel like I still have the position to make sure they're doing okay in every aspect of their life. So if they're stressing out about academics or anything, I can still help them with their board position so they can focus on themselves. Yeah.
Okay, so once they have grown their shell and they were able to walk on their own, I feel like the president's job is now to tend to the future. you want to be able to build that structure where the future presidents or future boards are able to grow. And the only way to do that is if you make that strong foundation for them. You probably won't see it my term, but hopefully with my term, we will have that foundation that future board will have.
Critique of current position holder and ranking improvement.
All right, so one of the big issues that I had was she mentioned compromise. Although I did not see compromise when I did have my petty problems, they were not met and it was very one-sided. Another thing is, yes, we did where we did not have to have her holding our hands, but then she lost track on what she had to do and sort of let go, which is pretty much selling a product without using the actual product. We don't see her going to the activity, the services that we offer for general members.
I'd say Sid was doing a really good job in leading us as a new board, because we all were new board members. So she did a really good job getting us to where we needed to be, but then it came to a certain point that it was almost as if she wasn't going with us. So I wish happened more was she led with us and also led by direction and example, by going to, like Jeremy said, like activities and stuff and showing initiative and starting projects or going to study hours or something. Yeah.
How do you reestablish board morale? People start to get like unmotivated, lazy, or just discouraged.
Well, first thing, I think what we need to do more as a board is actually hang out, because once we start losing sort of interest in interacting with each other, we do not find it pleasant to be around each other. So with morale, I think it's our team effort to have morale going together, because with one person that is low in morale, it sort of brings the whole vibe down with board.
For the board morale, I do agree with Jeremy with making sure that our board relationships with each other are at least to like where we can hang out and be friends and not hate each other, because it's a lot easier to do your job when you enjoy doing your job and enjoy the people who work with you. And also helping with board morale, I would try to like kind of monitor making the board that they're not burning themselves out, because I had histories of just I wanted this after this after this, and after that I was kind of like tired and didn't want to do anything. So I'd make sure that we space out a lot of the jobs or certain the stuff that the board members have to do like over a certain amount of time, so that they don't get burned out and that we don't get low board morale.
How would you make sure the dynamic between friendship and business is balanced between your board members? How would you make sure that business and friendship would be balanced between your board members, the dynamic?
Well, definitely in social events, you could be as social as you want, but once we hit like board meetings or meetings, I would want to see 100% professionalism between each board member. Will that be realistic? Probably not, but as much as possible, I would want to see, I would curate that they would be professional during those times. Other than that, they could be as social and as lively as they want to be.
if I'm understanding your question right, I'm just a little bit confused. But to make sure that friendships and board members are like balanced, I don't think there's a problem in being friends as board. I almost think that it almost helps to make it easier to work with each other. But if it gets to the point where there's two, there's a hurt friendship, or there's like a rough patch with two people working with each other, I'd make sure that at least we are professional about it. Like, this is a board and it's your board position first, no matter what, if it's a personal issue or anything. And I'd make sure that they're putting their board face on and that they're working in a professional way.
More questions?
While you're president, like watching out for your other board members' stress, how do you deal with your own stress? While you're making sure that your board members are not stressed, how will you deal with your stress?
I would definitely manage my time to the best of my abilities and prioritize what I need to prioritize for that certain, whatever is happening at that moment. I've been using Google Calendars a lot, making sure that if I plan to study, I will study and I won't procrastinate. And watching out for my own stress. I mean, everybody has those days where you just can't do any, or you just can't handle a lot of things. So I make sure to take personal time for myself, because I can't perform and I can't be the best who I can be as a president if I am not fully 100%. So I make sure I was 100% first, so I can make sure everybody else is.
All right, so what I think qualifies me to handle my stress is throughout my whole college career, I once held a job, instructed martial arts, and was a captain for a tennis team while going to work. So I feel like stress is there, but I will manage myself in the way I can.
Scenario question. So board members unable to continue their position throughout the year. How will you handle their position and responsibility?
All right, so if a board member is no longer able to do their position, you have to talk to them, see what's going on. But in the end, ultimately, it is their decision. I wish they would figure that out sooner than later, because if board members having to pick up the slack for another board member, it makes people angry. I'm gonna say it makes people angry when you have to pick up their slack. Whereas if they just if I was to cut them off after the talk, I think it would be less stress on us to worry about where their whereabouts are or if they're doing a decent job at it. So I prefer to talk. If they still don't want to do it, then I would have to cut them off.
Like Jeremy said, is ultimately their decision if they cannot perform their work duties, and I would make sure that to them that is absolutely what they want to do, because if their lack of work affects my board, I would have no fear asking them to step down from work, because in that sense you're just kind of you're just hurting everybody else rather than you're hurting everybody else in not doing your job and reaching the expectations or standards you're supposed to. And I would pick up the slack that they would, so the rest of the board wouldn't have to have another stress on top of them, like having to deal with a problem with that problem.
Questions?
So you both talked about how you want to have more connections with ESOs, which I think is really good. But there can be people in other ESOs who won't be as cooperative and won't like want to immediately collab with you, just right off the bat. So like, what are your ideas on like trying to reach out to them more?
I've had personal experience with that because I am EVP for this year, and BMES and like other orgs are very reluctant to work with us just because, you know, why would I want to like work towards something that I don't need to? But I really was determined to make sure that we had those connections with them, and after I showed my initiative and determination, hard work towards the BMES ice skating event, they saw how cool we were, what great of a club we are, and how much they could benefit from like talking to us and having that relationship. So I just show determination and hard work and make sure that happens.
So similar to what Dom was saying, that we do need to press for it. We just have to keep driving for what we want. If it doesn't happen, at least they'll have that thread that we're sort of connected in, that we can invite them or they can invite us. We are open to it. I think it's just a matter of drive, whether or not we will push for it. I think if we push for it and we show that we're organized and that we are, again, a great club to be around, then we would establish those connections.
Any last questions?
Just real quick, I know we don't have a lot of time left, but quick, what's your plans for Alianza for next year for Fusion?
With Alianza, I would work with the Alianza board itself and also the sister orgs, because in kind of establishing more like all Alianza events, like with general members as well, because I feel like the single collaborations you have aren't enough almost, and there's lack of participation, lack of attendance there. So if we have kind of like hangouts where everybody goes, that would be my number one thing I would want to work on.
So again, it is based on networking. We do say we have these ties, but do we really think of them as ties? We go to collabs, we go to their collabs, but it feels very forced. I think it should just be a genuine connection between all the Alianza organizations.